Is it awesome to be a part of a church that does stuff like that, or what? Yeah. Love it. Love it. I'm Brian Phipps, and I'm the Next Steps pastor here at Westside, and what that means is my job is to help people discern and take their next steps in loving Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and sharing Jesus. And in this kind of Love Proofs series, I have found that personally I have several next steps to take. Has anybody else just been messed with this series? I mean, I have. I've never had a series come by that I was actually scared of. But this has been, because love is a powerful thing. It's an intimate thing. It's a vulnerable thing. And when we turn to Christ to try to love better, wow, I just have so much potential, so many growth areas. I don't know about you, but I have. Grab your notes and wave them at me real quick. Thank you. Wow, man, that felt good. Right in the big idea of the series, if you will. Here it is. Love shows up. Love shows up. It does something. Love isn't a feeling. When we were on vacation this summer, my wife made me download some Air Supply. I'm all out of love. What am I without you? I know you were right. Believing for so long. I'm all out of love. That's not true. You've just chosen not to love. It's not a feeling. Write this one in the blank next. It's not primarily an emotion. It's an action. It's an action, not an emotion. It's different than just this 80s love ballad feeling thing. It's a whole lot more like the song I've been hearing coming out of my kids' iPod lately. It's something like I got the moves like Jagger. I got the moves like Jagger. You haven't heard that one? That's even on one of those little dance-a-thon things. I got the move. I'm not going to try to move like Jagger. I would hurt something. It's different. It's got moves. It's got action. It shows up. What a huge challenge that is in our life. Here's the big idea for today's teaching. You ready? I honor Jesus by loving others the way that he loves me. Talking about honoring Jesus today, we're in John chapter 13, and we're going to be centering in on verses 34 and 35. And it's there that Jesus says, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. But then he goes on to say, if you love others like I love you. In fact, here's the verse. I am giving you a new commandment, love each other. The way that I love you, you should love one another. Love shows up. How? It loves the way that Jesus loves me. Now check out the language that Jesus used there in that verse. He used the word commandment. It doesn't say, hey, here's a good idea, guys. Love the way that I've loved you. He says this is a new commandment. Check that out. That means number 11. You've heard of the 10 Commandments? Yeah, I've heard of the 10 Commandments. That's good. Well, there's 11. Don't forget number 11. That's the one that Jesus threw in there. Love one another. How? The way that I have loved you. Is that, I can't do Mick Jagger's moves, but Jesus does say that I can love the way Jesus loves. And it's not some Air Supply thing. And we can do that. There, let's look at that, find out, how did Jesus love? How did Jesus love? Let's love like Jesus. That's point number one. Have you been to a wedding and ever heard the 1 Corinthians 13 verses read at a wedding? It's probably the most often read there, and we are thinking about the couple that's up front and the commitment or the tragedy that they're getting, the commitment that they're getting ready to make toward one another. And it's going to be this great thing, and there's this ushy-gushy feeling and memories being made and the whole 9 yards, and this verse is read. This time, let's take those two out of the picture and put Jesus, that the Bible says is the bridegroom. And this is the way he loves toward his bride, which is us, the church. And let's think of Jesus and the way he acts and the way he loves and the way that he shows up in our lives, and just see if this is how he is or not. You ready? Here's the first one. Love is patient. Anybody glad Jesus is patient with them? Man, I could write a book on that one. Love is kind. Of all the authorities in the world, the one that's the most authoritative and the most powerful starts with kindness. Wow. It does not envy. He does not boast. He is not proud. He is not rude. Can't imagine Jesus being rude, can you? Just can't imagine it. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Wow, so glad he doesn't keep a record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love shows up. Jesus showed up. And in every moment of our lives, this is the way he shows up for us. What's he saying to us? Show up like this for everyone else in your life. Wow. Turn your notes back to the other side. You're going to have to write a few things in there in that blank space. I hear you out there doing the shuffle thingy, but I'm going to ask you to turn back there. I've heard multiple series on love and pulling this 1 Corinthians 13 chapter out and spending weeks and weeks and weeks on it. I only have a couple of minutes that I want to use to walk through this and unpack it. So I've kind of broken it down into 3 statements. They're coming up here. And the first one is this: love is selfless. Will you just write that somewhere in your notes? Love is selfless. It doesn't put itself forward. It considers others first. When it talks about love being patient and kind, here's what it means. It means that love is the kind of stuff that when it first meets you is just, sweet, nice, creatively pleasant. I'm trying to think of how to say kind without saying kind, but it initiates and it starts with a smile. But it doesn't give up either. It's not just kind, but it's patient. It perseveres through that. It doesn't give up on trying to be creative and kind and loving and all the other things that kind and patient means. That's how Jesus rolls with us. Wow. Second thing here is that love is not selfish. It's selfless, so it's not selfish. Several things in here fit the selfish category. The first one's envy. What is envy? Envy is wishing that I had something that you have. It's about me. It's about, oh man, that's not fair. They've got that. I want to have that. That's envy. Interesting thing. I love kind of talking about Facebook every once in a while and the fun exploits I have on Facebook. Read an article this week about Facebook envy and depression that happens when people read Facebook posts. Of course, everybody, when they're putting stuff up on Facebook, generally puts the awesome things that are happening in their life, which isn't a realistic picture. It's not a full picture of things going on in their life. But when you read it and you start to envy, you start to get depressed, and there's a whole epidemic of this coming out. Next thing you know, it's going to be in the medical journals or whatnot. Somehow we just keep reading it, but the envy is not love. It's wishing that I had everything. Another one here, boasting. Loving does not boast. You know what boasting is? Boasting is about me because I want to prolong the glory of whatever cool thing happened in my life. You know, if you did something great, it's the next day going, that was pretty cool, right? I mean, can you imagine Jesus boasting? I just try to picture him right after he turned the water into wine. Like the next day, going to Peter and going, that was cool, wasn't it? Wasn't that awesome? I mean, jugs of water and then like the best wine anybody's ever had. That's cool. See Lazarus over there? He was dead yesterday. you just can't picture Jesus doing that kind of thing. But boasting is about making it all about yourself. You can go on, rude, pride, all that is it's about me, not about him. Finally, love does the right thing even if it's hard. Love does the right thing even if it's hard. It always protects, always loves, always perseveres, always hopes, always trusts. It does the thing that protects and helps and loves and cares for and just does the right thing even when it's hard. I've got a great story of that happened this week. I mean, I hate this series. Have I told you that yet? It has been in my face all week. And I've got a daughter who's 16. I love her. She was recently trying out for, some sports at her high school, and I didn't have any idea how traumatic these tryout weeks were, particularly when you get to the junior year. So anyway, she's trying out, and Thursday was the big day. Now, I'm not very creative when it comes to kindness and stuff like that. I'm your steady Eddie guy. I'm there. I'm loyal. But being creative and how to be loving and all that, that's just not my game. Fortunately, I've got some friends and a wife that are pretty good at this. And they had the awesome idea of going to the high school and being there in the parking lot when the daughter got out with cookies. And if things went well and we made the team, we've got cookies to celebrate. And if the things didn't go so well, we've got cookies to comfort. That's the whole idea. And so I'm there, and get this, I have been traveling all week. I've been gone for 5 days. I come home, I'm teaching this weekend. I've got projects that are going on. I'm too busy to be there. Then this stupid sermon series, love shows up, whatever. I've got to get myself over there. So I do the spiritual thing, and I get in the car and I go, and I'm happy about it because I want to be there for my daughter. I really do. So I've been texting her all day, and I thought that was creative, but the cookies thing really did win. So love you, babe. Hope you're doing well. Praying for you. I get the text when we're in the parking lot. I didn't make it. Oh, that hurt. And so being a great dad that I am, I get out of the car, and I'm walking toward the building because I want to catch her when she comes out and pour some affection on her, just be there for my girl. She looks up from her books, and she sees me, and she says, "What in the world are you doing here?" I came that close to making it about me. Do you not realize how much love shows up? Stupid series. I do not like this series. It wasn't just kind, it was patient, and I'm shutting the door for her, going to her hot car to get home, and I'm going, how am I going to deal with this one? And Jesus taught me something, that I can't move like Mick Jagger, but I don't have to be all out of love just because it didn't go my way. And I got to persevere with a gal who was having a really hard day. And I believe that Jesus, who is love, who does live inside of those who call on him, is able to love in any and every situation you can possibly go through. You might not have the moves like Jagger, but you can stay filled with love and show up. So here's the question. Do you love blank? Whoever's going to be in the blank. Do you love your kid? Do you love your spouse? Do you love your roommate? Do you love your mom? Do you love your dad? Whoever it is. Don't ask the air supply, I'm all out of love question. Look back over the last 3 days and say, have I been rude? Have I been kind? Have I been angry? Have I been patient? Have I done this? Measure the show-upables. They're measurable. It's kind of fun. Actually, it's horrible, but it's helpful and it's very telling as to what we can do. And here's the deal, guys. How many failed this week? Come on, the rest of you are lying. Put both hands up. I failed over and over and over. The growth potential of love is unending for the rest of your life, okay? So how do we view this thing when we don't measure up, when we do make it about us, when we do the wrong thing? We say, I failed, but failure's not the end. Failure is actually, look at this, write this in your blank, is often the first step to overcoming. Failure just points out where you can grow. You can say, man, I failed and I'll continue to fail, or this is just like me and I'll fail for the rest of my life. Or you can say, no, that's not the case. That's just pointing out an area where I can learn to grow. And Jesus can have his way in my life. I don't have to stay living this way at all, okay? It's a powerful truth that he says. I want to tell you about a friend of mine named Brian Tucker and his wife, Jen. About 4 months ago, Tuck gets a text from his wife, and it's probably the most horrible text that could bring the most horrible feeling in the world that anybody could ever have. And the text was this: you need to come home and pack some clothes. You're moving out. Ouch. That has a sting, a major sting, and a lot of you are feeling it right now. Now, Tuck had every right to be mad. Tuck had every right to be upset. He had every right to envy and fight and be rude and to do all these kind of things. But he chose instead to go to his group leader. He has a fireside that he's a part of, and he went to his group leader, and that group leader went to his leader that he goes to, and together they got together and they encouraged Tuck to not keep this to himself, but to share it with their entire fireside group. And so that Sunday night, he shared what was going on, and that whole group encouraged him. Buddy, don't make this about you. Don't point the finger back. How's that done for you in the past? They said, instead, do the hard thing, because love always protects, always hopes, always trusts, always perseveres. It loves, it's kind. Going through the stupid series, right? Great series. Tuck decides that he's going to go for it. He's not going to make it about him. He's going to fight for his wife. Goes to get some help through a friend of a friend in the fireside. That guy introduces him to some tools that he can use. One called a love dare thing, if you've ever heard of this deal, where a man just unrelentingly loves on his wife regardless of what he gets out of it, chooses to love her. 4 months later, Tuck gets another text. Pack your bags, boy. It's time to come home. Is that not awesome? That's awesome. Come on, let's give him a hand. That's what love can do. Here's the fun thing. I didn't know this was happening, but yesterday, Tuck and Jen, who gave me permission to share this story, by the way, don't worry about telling me your story. I'll ask your permission before using it. Everybody's out there, thank goodness. Yeah, most of the time. Anyway, so yesterday, they renewed their vows right here at the church, and they were to leave last night on their honeymoon that they never took. They've been married 4 years. They went on their honeymoon that they never took. They delayed leaving on the honeymoon just to be here at the 8:30 service this morning to hear this story. Is that awesome or what? Go God. I love it. Now, here's the deal. And I'm unashamedly going to do a commercial for almost the rest of our time. Ready? Where would that marriage be without that group? Where would that marriage be without the support of friends? Where would that marriage be if he didn't have guardrails around him saying, Tuck, let Jesus win? It would have been a part of a growing statistic of Christ followers who were alone. Listen, I love Jesus. His Spirit's in me. I've been chasing him hard a long time. I need 3 groups to keep me straight. And I have them. Nobody can do this thing of learning to love like Jesus, show up like Jesus all by themselves. It's insane to try that on your own. Please don't, please be a part of a group. Here's the thing, third blank there. Learn to love in a group. Learn to love in a group. What do I mean by that? Let me give you the dynamics of what a new group does. Almost every time a new group starts, the people in it go, wow, this is the most amazing thing. How is it that I've never chosen to do this before? Aren't the Smiths so sweet? Aren't they awesome? Isn't she fun? I've got a new bowling partner, whatever it is. And you go on and you just have the best time for about 5 weeks. And then weeks 6, 7, and 8 come in and you're, wow, this is awesome. Goes to, wow, these people have issues. They're just as messed up as we are. And you're relieved and you're a little awkward all at the same time. And then you go down. I know, I've been in the group. I'm that guy that people said was weird after they left. But you go 4 or 5 more months, and these people that were a wow at one point are now becoming a challenge. But you don't have to live with them. So you get to practice love in a way that isn't near as threatening as the people that are in your life that you can't quite shake or shouldn't. wow, I get to practice the challenging things with people who have the same mindset and who have the same desire to see Christ lifted up in their family. We can learn to get past the things that trip us up if we're committed to this together. Look how important this is. John 13, verse 35, going back to John 13. Jesus says, your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Whoa, prove to the world? Yeah, prove to the world. Why? Because ain't nobody else figuring out how to love like this. You could set the bar of how people love one another. And it will change how business gets done inside of homes, inside of living rooms, after you get home from a long day of work and are tired. Grab this sheet, will you? This was in your bulletin. Just put your notes aside for a second and grab this sheet, if you will. This sheet says that your group is waiting. If you're in a group, I'm not talking to you, unless your group's really weird and you're the only one not weird in your group and you need another one or whatever. In fact, if that's who you are, you're the one that's weird. Anyway, moving on. I'm not going to take the time to read this for you. You're smart. I'm going to break it down. There's 3 types of groups. There's life groups, life studies, and lifelines. Life groups, there's the most of those because they're the most portable. They meet in homes, etc. We, for the last few weeks, have been inviting people to be hosts, people that are just willing to take the risk, take the dare, open up their home and start a brand new tester life group. Only 5 weeks long. You can see we're using the Soul Detox series. It'll go alongside of the message series coming up starting in September. Not the same. You can start your group, whatever. But anyway, goes along with it. Great way to start. Life studies, you can see there, our large group teaching with discussion, and there's topics there. Lifelines are kind of specialty groups that help people deal with certain areas of recovery and life preparation and things like that. Those groups are there. In fact, if you'll look at your notes, I even write this in the blank. Westside also has groups for kids and students. It's not just adults. We don't want you to wait, we don't want our kids to wait till they're adults to figure out how to do life right. So I love what John and the team has done in the family ministries is they've started doing life groups. All the signups for all these things are going to be out in the lobby. In fact, I'm going to turn you loose a little early so that you can go out there if you're not in a group and find one. There will be people out there ready to meet you. In fact, if you look on the back of that sheet, there's a list of about 10 to 15 hosts who have been willing to take the risk and do this. If you're one of these hosts, will you do me a favor? Will you please stand and stay standing? If you're a life study leader, will you stand and stay standing? And if you're a lifeline leader, all 3 of those, host, life study, or lifeline, if you're one of those, would you stand and stay standing for a second? Not a ton. We got them up at Speedway too. Would you join me in thanking these folks for their leadership? Now, awesome. Got them up in the back. If you're one of those people, you need to start making your way out to the tunnel so that you don't get stuck in here if you're to meet people at the table and whatnot. So go ahead and head on out. Thank you. We'll finish with the rest of you, okay? Commercial almost over. Why? Why get in a group? I'll make you a crazy promise. It's number 3 here. You can watch love win. You can watch love win. Anybody tired of losing? Anybody tired of singing, I'm all out of love? Anybody ready to get some moves on? Learn how to love like Jesus loved? Look at the verse here. I don't want you to miss how significant this verse is. Love never fails. Can you read it with me? Love never fails. I came that close to making that episode with my daughter about me, but this dumb series kept chirping right in my ear. And I got to honor my kid because love never fails. Jesus is love. Jesus is in you, and Jesus can't fail. And you don't have to either. I promise you this, envy will always fail. Boasting will always fail. Nobody's ever going to look at me and say, Phipps, that boasting looks good on you, child. You know, it's just never going to happen. But love will never fail. Brian and Jennifer Tucker are not going on their honeymoon today because they're smart. They're not going on their honeymoon today because they're insightful. They're going on their honeymoon today because they're surrendered to Jesus. Because he lives inside of them and he always wins. I encourage you, friends, go out. Find some people who have taken it on themselves to serve you. I love the apron. It's a symbol of service. They have chosen to serve you and make themselves available for you to not be alone the next time you need some encouragement to love the way Jesus loves. They are there. In fact, it's kind of crazy. One of them has already sold out, so you better hurry while supplies last. One of them, seriously, one home filled up after the first service. So I encourage you, find your way to someone who's willing to serve you and join up. If you want to host yourself, there's a tear off there. It's not too late. Get in a group. Let Jesus win. Love you guys. See you next week.